this thing running not 100%, but 98%. Let me show you. If you want to know what I did to fix it, I'll put the timestamp you can forward to. If not, you can watch about 20 minutes of me on the struggle bus, and then you'll see what happened. But the solution was pretty simple, but I took an extremely long, circuitous path to get to it. Okay, I've been using this mower after the 4-part restoration or reconstitution series, whatever you want to call it, and it's still not run. I mean, it runs good at high RPM under load, but it's still not running good. It's still not. It's skipping and missing, and so I've figured out one of the problems, which I'm going to show you. We've got at least at a low idle, we've got a dead hole. So let's see if it'll fire up. If I pull this plug out, so at least at low RPM, but it's not fully contributing, and it's spark related. So, or I think it's spark related. Maybe it's not spark related. I don't know. Anyway, this cylinder ain't doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, my gut feeling is this wire somewhere in here is arcing. So at least it's losing some of its spark. Some of it is not making it to the plug. This is just for the dipstick, and the only reason I'm taking this off is because it's blocking a different nut, bolt, screw, whatever you want to call it. Set that there. Now this should lift off. Okay. And I am not seeing anywhere where this would be arcing. I was hoping to see, like, you know, a piece of metal or something, like, so that, you know. Let's fire it back up. We should be, if it's arcing, we should be able to see it. Yeah, I can feel a tingle. The battery died, but so I got a business card stuck in between the coil and this. There's a magnet right there. You see, you can pull this back a little bit. You let go, the magnet pulls itself against the business card, and that's supposed to be the proper gap. So while that's in there, you tighten this down. Then roll the business card out. And there's the magnet. And now that's supposed to be the proper gap between this and this. And I'm not going to touch that one because it's working. It's doing the things it's supposed to be doing. So I'm going to start this unhooked. And then we'll just stick it on and see if it makes any difference. I don't think it's going to make a damn bit of difference, but I'm grasping at straws here, so let's see what happens. While it's running, see if this intake is leaking. All right, what I was doing, I was spraying starting fluid to see if the RPM changed, because the other thought I had is, you know, so this cylinder's not doing what it's supposed to do, so I thought maybe there's a leak right here, because I've dealt with these before where this leaks. So if you spray starting fluid like around here or anything that'll burn, if you hear the motor all of a sudden change pitch, then it means it's sucking that stuff in there and you've got a leak there. But I don't know what, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that it needs a new coil, but not ready for that yet, because I mean, I just don't use this thing that much, and it does seem once you rev it up and it's spinning, it works itself out, for lack of a better term. So I don't know, I'm gonna put this all together. Y'all may never see this, so. All right, I figured it out. I just put this thing back up, said screw it, I'll worry about it later. And so well, it didn't look clean, but cleaned off my workbench. I installed this fan up here, cut it apart and hung it from the ceiling. It's in here jacking around. That just kept bothering me that it was like not a complete miss. It was kind of a little bit of a miss. But when you unplugged this, you could hear like a tick, 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 tick. You could hear it arcing somewhere. And it dawned on me, there's a wire that goes to this coil, connects to that one. That's when you turn it off, what it does is it connects this to the ground. That's how it kills it, because then instead of the spark wanting to jump across the spark plug, it has a direct connection. It always tries to, you know, path of least resistance. And I was like, damn, what if the ground wire has a cut in it somewhere and it's shorting off and on? And that, I haven't found it, but that's what it is, because watch, I've got it unhooked now. So that's the only way to turn it off is to pull the plug. But watch when I turn it on, how it acts now. All right, you can see how it's running. Now I'll pull the plug. A definite change. Not like before, you can definitely hear a change. smooths out. It's not running rich anymore. So now when I turn it off, it's going to be running on this cylinder because it's going to kill that coil, but this one, there's no way to kill it. Well, I've been messing with it some more, and now the problem's kind of come back. At least it tells me it is an ignition problem. But now it was acting like it was acting funky with this ground wire unplugged. So I have been sitting here contemplating on this thing. I know it's missing. I think it's a coil, but what I'm going to do, I'll swap the plugs just to make sure it's not a plug. I don't think it is, but why not be certain? If y'all watch, there's this channel called Salvage Workshop. This is October 2024, so if you look in that time frame. Anyway, he's working on a tractor for a friend, a gas John Deere, a big farm tractor. And he's having an issue with the power steering pump, and he's had the front of that tractor off like 6 times. And I mean, to get to the power steering pump, you take the radiator, the fan, I mean, literally the front of the tractor off. And that's how I feel with this, because to get to those coils, look how rich that is. To get to those coils, you see, you got to take this, the carburetors, all this crap off. But I've done it so many times. I know exactly what tools I need. I mean, it's like a NASCAR pit stop at this point, and I can have this thing broke down in a heartbeat. So that's the saving grace. But I don't really use this thing, but it's just the principle of it. Man, that plug looks like crap. But I want to know what's the problem. So, because I may end up selling it, which probably not, because I have a hard time getting rid of anything like this. But I certainly don't want to sell it running kind of janky. Yeah, and they're both just rich as all get out. But yeah, always hand start plugs, even though you saw me try not to. All right, we got one in, one out. If it's the plug, then this thing shouldn't even start. Because remember, this is the one that was acting good, behaving. So if it starts, then the only thing left is the coil to have an ignition problem, which is what I've pretty much convinced myself it's some kind of ignition issue. And this is not the Kohler with the electronic. This is old school. A magnet spins around and runs by the magneto and fires. There's no intelligence built into this ignition system. So, first of all, let's just see if it'll fire right up. I bet you it does. Yeah, so not really any difference. I mean, maybe a slight, but one thing I want to try before I order a coil is I've been watching some videos, doing what everybody else does. Go look at YouTube. And I found one, I think it was the guy was called the Mower Medic 1 or something like that. Anyway, he had a coil that wasn't working at all. And he took it off, cleaned the connections and it worked. And I mean, if I wouldn't have watched him do it, I wouldn't have believed it, because I didn't think that there could be enough corrosion to cause that kind of problem. But he had it. I mean, it wasn't some kind of weird trick video. So I'm like, before I order a coil, I have to order 2 of them, I think. Since I've had, I don't know how long it took to take this apart, not very long. Let's just clean it. Clean the connections and see if that does anything. I doubt it will, but hey, whatever, because it's intermittent, you know. Okay, there's no scraping or anything. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. I'm not going to film it. Same thing. We'll come back and see what happens. Cleaned. The other one was kind of dirty too, although one side was clean, the other side was dirty of the 2 contacts. But polished it all up. So we got everything hooked back up. And I don't know if y'all caught it, but the first time I tested, I didn't have the carburetor bolted down. It was just sitting there, but I guess it didn't break the seal. It still worked, but I've got it bolted down now. So let's see how it responds. That's odd. Did I? Yeah. Okay, so there was a problem. It's not hooked up. But it was running really good on this one cylinder that supposedly has intermittent spark. Oof, not happy. All right, it's all right. I am still befuddled because it's just not acting any way. Let's see if I can just wedge it in there. There we go. Yeah, there was nothing wrong with that. All right, let me put it back together. choke is on, but it's not. What's weird though is if you put the blades on, it's like it all of a sudden it clears up. Let me get down here and I'll show you. We'll just do a lap right here. Well, that's all I know for now. So I'm gonna look online and see if I can figure anything out. Okay, I put it up and I still couldn't take it, so I got it out again and I went all over this carburetor and I found an adjustment. I turned that thing in like 4 turns and now it's running smooth. I'm afraid it may be too lean, so let's just see what happens if it backfires or something. So what I did is I turned it in until it started running rough, and then I backed it out a little bit. So let me see if you can see this. And that's just the idle mixture screw, which is supposed to be on Kohler's documentation. It's up here, but like I said, it's got to be somewhere, and I just finally found it. So I'll let y'all know if that fixes it. So running not 100%, but 98%. Let me show you. Okay, as far as the engine drama with this Craftsman GT5000, we started off, the carb was fouled, been sitting for years, gummed up. So instead of rebuilding it, I bought a new carb. That made it better, but not perfect. It still didn't run great, but it ran better than it was. Then we went on a long chasing our tail thing with the coils. Pull one side off, I guess it would be the passenger side, the right side of the tractor. That cylinder, you pull that coil off, you could hear it. It hit, you could tell it right away. The driver's side, or the left side, you could kind of tell the difference when you pulled the plug off, but not certain. So it was like weak spark, weak. It just wasn't running great. Cleaned, took the coil off, re-gapped it, put it back together, took the coil off again, cleaned all the contacts. swap the plugs. All that seemed to make a little difference, but not a lot of difference. And this is after pulling the top of that motor off about 4 or 5 times, just going back and forth, trying to figure out what's going on. And then I dug through a bunch of Kohler documentation. And one of the things they talked about was an idle mixture screw. But there wasn't an idle mixture screw on that carb. I looked where it was supposed to be, it wasn't there. But I'm like, this thing just feels like it's running with the choke on. Something I didn't even film is I went and checked when you turn the choke on and turn it off, is it closing all the way and opening all the way? And yes, it was. So it wasn't the choke cable or the choke adjustment. There are no mixtures, running mixture adjustments on that carb. But I pulled the front of that thing off again, and I started looking, and I did find that one little screw, which turned out it looks like it is the idle mixture screw. And I cranked that in, and now it runs way better. It's still not perfect. It still will stumble every once in a while. It's not running at 100%, but something I think we've got going on, which I don't even know if I wrote it on here. Yeah, I did. That left cylinder, I think, is a weak cylinder. I think that's why swapping coil, swapping plugs, swapping whatever, if you unhook the right one, you could really tell. If you unhook the left one, kind of tell. The thing is, that engine has a cajillion hours on it. I mean, it's probably got 300, 400, maybe 500 hours on it at least. I mean, it lived on a farm and it mowed, acres and acres and acres at a time. Not a little front yard. So it's got a ton of hours on it. I don't have a compression tester, but maybe it's just got low compression. And so maybe where I've got it is as good as it gets. It runs, it starts up, it runs, you mow, everything's fine. You can still, it seems like it's running a little rich, but there's nothing you can do with that carb. So ultimately, I think it's as good as it's going to get unless I want to really start pulling the head off and like checking compression and that ain't going to happen. So I hope you enjoyed this long journey. That tractor may make another appearance. Hopefully not. But if you got any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, just let me know. I'll try to help you as much as I can. Hope you enjoyed this long, drawn out video, and thanks for watching. See ya.